Hey, family, welcome back to the Well Balanced Life with Dr. Dana, where we are aligning our faith, our life, and wholeness. I am so happy to have you back with me. And as promised, we are going to talk about reference checks. Now, no. Those of you looking for a job, that is not what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that later because I do have some tips and tricks for you. But we are going to be talking about reference checks concerning our character. So grab your tea and let's get into it. Now, when you go and apply for a job and they are considering hiring you, the first thing they do is ask for references and they begin the process of looking into your background. They call people that used to work with you, they check your credit report, they check other things about your background to make sure that you are a safe hire, per se. Well, depending on the type of job, they may even dive in a little bit deeper and ask questions about your family, people that know you, different types of things just to get a feel for who you really are. Because let's be honest, when you do the interview, you're putting your best foot forward. They meet our representative. When we submit our resumes, that is a snapshot of all of the good things about your past experience and your skills. But sometimes more information is needed to determine whether or not you are a good fit for the role. And like I said earlier, whether you are a safe bet. Well, some of us have a little bit of a problem when people try to do this in our personal lives. We feel as if when people try to get a character reference or do a reference check on us, that they are being messy or they are hating on you or acting funny. But the truth of the matter is, people have the right to inquire about your behavior, especially if they are considering doing life with you. So, just like we go on Yelp to get reviews about businesses, restaurants, those types of things, people have the right to do a reference check on you if they are considering doing life with you in any way, shape, or form. So, I want us to talk about this a little bit more because I've heard it come up a couple of times recently where people were feeling offended because someone asked someone else about them. And it got me thinking that I'm just like, well, wait a minute. I don't think this person was being messy. I think they were being a good steward of their relationship. Let that sit for a minute. We have the right and the responsibility to steward our time, to steward our poor, to steward our access well. It's called boundaries. And so it's only right that we take a minute to ask some questions about a person that we're considering entering into a platonic or a romantic relationship with. I had the pleasure of speaking at an event called Secret of Self Esteem. Shout out to my Isha Keaton Stoglin, who was the gracious host there. And I talked about boundaries. And one of the things that I shared is that we, a lot of times, are still doing relationships the way we did in kindergarten. We're building relationships with people based off of similarities and proximity. Oh, she likes red bottoms. I like red bottoms. Let's go be friends. That just means you both have similar bank accounts. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're meant to be besties. And so there's nothing wrong with getting more information about a person before you decide whether or not you want to invest time or access. I think not only is it prudent, not only is it wise, I think it is an example, again, of good stewardship. You can save yourself and the other person a ton of heartache and wasted time, hurt feelings, and offense if we would just take a beat and do a little bit of reference checking or character checking, if you will. Now, I want to be really clear that there is a difference between checking references and being messy and gossiping. And I'll dive into that in a little bit. But just like your last employer can only share certain information about you when your new employer calls to find out if you were a good employee or why you got fired, was this just a layoff or did you smack somebody in the break room? Like, what's really going on before I extend an offer to this person? Well, just like they can only share certain information, I think the same should be true when giving a reference or a character check for somebody. You should stick to, recent history. It's unfair, I think, to go back 10, 15, 20 years and not acknowledge the fact that people can evolve. Okay? I wholeheartedly believe that people can evolve. As being a Christian, being a believer in redemption, I believe that people have an opportunity through the grace of God to become better people. I have done a ton of work on myself, sitting with the Lord, going to therapy, being self reflective, using tools, reading books, praying and fasting, all the things. I'm a different person today than I was just last year. I'm a different person today, certainly than I was 5 or 10 years ago. So if you met me before all of this work, I kind of apologize. There's no telling what version of me you got. So your characterization of me may be different than someone who's doing life with me now, and I get that. But I just believe that we have an obligation to give honest, real time, in the moment, relevant feedback about people without bashing them or demonizing them. Let me give you a little bit of an example, because I believe that we are responsible for our reputation. Okay. I think sometimes we hear feedback about ourselves, and it's not so much that we're offended that someone said it, it's that we don't like it because it resonates with what we already know to be true about ourselves. Let me let that sit for a minute. I know, friend. Somebody said the thing about you out loud that you already know to be true about you. And you get offended about it because how dare they say the thing that I'm thinking about already in my head. And so we get angry not because it's true, but because we there's a little bit of embarrassment or shame about it. So we did this exercise at church, and it confirmed feedback that I have heard for most of my life. I often hear that I am bossy. Can you believe it? I know, right? Me, bossy. But my grandmother used to have this saying. She used to say, everybody can't be lying. Meaning, if you hear something consistently, there must be some truth to it. And so we did this exercise, and it came up again that I was bossy. And in the moment, I was a little bit, I don't want to say offended because I don't think it was, I felt that strongly about it, but it didn't feel well that that's how people would characterize me. And so I started kind of making excuses. Well, I always have to be the leader. Well, I always have to stand up. Well, I always have to carry the load. Well, I'm in corporate and da 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 da, and giving all of these reasons as to why I came off or show up as bossy. And while those things are valid, it's valid that I'm the firstborn. It's valid that I am responsible for a lot of people. It's valid that I'm a leader over leaders. All of those things are valid. But guess what? So is their experience of me as being bossy. And so I had to look at and own, Dana, there is something about the way you show up, and there's something about the way you interact with people that feels as if instead of you inviting them along on a journey with you, you are bossing them around. I had to sit with that. I couldn't make them wrong for their experience of me. I had to say, well, if you don't like that people experience you as bossy, then you have to do something about that. And so I had to get real with myself and say, okay, self, if you don't like the way that feels, then what do you need to change about how you interact with people? And that led me to start asking for feedback. I'd have a meeting, and then I would ask a few people in the meeting on one offs, not in the meeting, hey, when I said X, Y, and Z, how did that feel to you? Hey, when I was giving kind of the takeaways or things that needed to be done, how did that resonate with you? Hey, do you think I gave everybody ample enough time to share their thoughts? I started asking for feedback because I wasn't cool with my reputation on the street being that I was bossy. We all get to be responsible for our reputation. Now, I want to drop a little caveat in here. I'm responsible for how I show up. I am not responsible for what lens in which you view me. We are all a culmination of our experiences. We all have our own individual come from. And so, based on your come from, that is going to determine the lens in which you see me. So, I can have the best intentions in the world. I can be as kind as possible. I can be as gentle. I can be a servant leader, all of those things. But if you have an issue with authority, if you got an issue with women, if you got an issue with black girl magic, all those things, right? You may still take me wrong based on the lens in which you view me. And I am not responsible for that. Now, if I'm aware of some of your come from and some of your issues, it can help color and help guide how I interact with you. But if I'm just meeting you for the first time, I have no idea how you're going to digest me. And that I'm not responsible for. So while we're getting feedback from people, we also have to be able to eat the meat, spit out the bones, find what's applicable, change what you can change if you want to, right? And then go from there. So let me give you a few little things that I think we need to consider when we're talking about reference points, right? Stick to the facts, right? Stick to the facts. We don't need to go in and color in, you know, all of these various different things with I felt like this and then they made and we don't need to stick to the facts, right? Let's take dating for example. You think you want to date somebody and you know somebody who knows said gentleman, and so you say, hey, what's your opinion of Mr. X? Well, he tried to date, my cousin 10 years ago, and she said, he was always late and he always had some lame excuse and just didn't really seem like he was really serious, kind of seemed like a player, and in my opinion, he wasn't good enough for her, no way, and blah, blah. Now we're coloring it versus giving a character reference of, hey, yeah, he tried to date my cousin a while back. I haven't really had much interaction with him since then. I remember maybe 10 years ago when they were trying to date, she said some things like he was consistently late and she just really didn't want to put up with that. Didn't really seem like he was serious at the time. But I don't know. That was 10 years ago. Maybe now he's serious and ready to settle down. That's a character reference. All that other about whether or not he was good for her and too good and da 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 da. That's where we start demonizing people. That's where we move into being messy. That's where we move into gossip. But there is nothing wrong with giving your take or your experience of someone. And we have to get to a place where we stop demonizing people for speaking the truth about how they experience us. If we don't like the things that people say about us, then guess what we need to do? We need to take a look in the mirror. After we get over being offended, after we get over our feelings being hurt, we need to look inward and we need to say, God, can you show me me? And then help me be the version of me that best reflects you. Lord, show me me, and then help me be the version of me that best reflects you. And here's the thing, you have the full right and autonomy to say, I'm not changing for anybody. I like me the way I am, and everybody else can kick rocks. You have the right to say that. But guess what? The people around you also have the right to say, then guess what? We choose not to play. We choose not to do life with you because of the way you show up. And so I want to encourage somebody on here who may be sitting in a little bit of offense based on some feedback they received or something they may have heard through the grapevine about their reputation. The good news is, and I always say this, as long as you are breathing, there is an opportunity to change. There's an opportunity to grow. There's an opportunity to evolve. Get past your ego, get past your feelings, and actually go ask people who do life with you, how do I show up? How do I make you feel when you're in my presence? When we don't agree, how do I make you feel? On my best day, how do I show up? On my worst day, how do I show up? Are there areas where you think there's room for improvement? Are there things that maybe I could tweak that would make your experience with me better? If you care enough about your reputation, then you'll go and get that feedback from people around you. And don't just choose people that are in love with you, fans that will applaud you and lie to you and tell you your breath don't stink when they know you need a mint. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that will tell you, yes, your breath stinks often. And I'm glad you asked. And here's a mint, by the way. Those are the people that will help you grow, the people that will tell you the truth about who you are. So, again, reference checks are not just for when you are applying for a job. The real game changer in leveling up, the real game changer in having healthy relationships is when you can hear what's hard to hear about your reputation, when you can give people room and freedom to be honest with you about how you show up, and you don't penalize them, you don't kill the messenger, you don't demonize them, you ingest it, you pray and ask the Lord to help you figure out how to digest that and give you the power to change, evolve, get better, not only so that you can be a better version of you, but so that you can reflect Him well here in the earth. Hope I've given you something to chew on, something to go and talk about. Make you a little list this week of people that you trust that would give you good feedback from a good place. And then leave it up to God and then do the work based on what He shows you. Well, I have enjoyed our time together. I hope that it's been a blessing to you. As I always say, regardless to how your day has been, regardless to how your life has been up until now, the fact that you're still breathing means that there is hope. And remember, the day goes on. I want you to join me back in the same place on next week where we are going to be talking about focusing on the right things. Come on, you know, we all are distracted by this and that, but we are going to talk about focusing on the right things. I'll see you next week.